Welcome to the Colorado Real Estate Leaders Podcast, brought to you by Trailstone Insurance Group, bringing you interviews with Colorado's best real estate and mortgage professionals, empowering you to understand the current trends in the housing market so you can make the American dream your reality. Enjoy today's episode.
Well, it's a great day in Colorado, and welcome to the Colorado Real Estate Leaders Podcast. Today, we have with us Eric Holsapple, who's the founder of Living in the Gap. Eric, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I enjoy being on. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Looking forward to talking with you. So get us started with your story. What's your background and how did you get into the industry? And of course, we want to talk about your book and all the things that you do to serve your clients.
Yeah, I'm a 40-year real estate professional. I started working mostly in real estate finance in the 1980s. I started with a local group, and then before I knew it, I was working with an Australian group and got transferred from Denver to Los Angeles, and before I knew it, was running North American operation for them, multi locations, multifaceted, and I was successful early, but not very happy or not very healthy. So, by my 30th birthday, I was looking for a change. And I made some changes. I left that job and went off on my own and decided to go get a Ph.D. in economics, met my wife, and I found yoga in that transition. And it was my first foray into mindfulness. And from there, it was just like one thing, small thing after another. My brother he's a poet. My dad was a football coach. They were estranged a little bit, and Dad wanted him to play football and he didn't want to play was one thing, but there's a lot of those kind of things. And I watched my brother take up meditation and get closer and closer to my dad and really brought the whole family back together. And he asked me if I wanted to try it. So I did. And it was an immediate game changer for me. For years, I was a closet meditator, which just means I didn't really, you don't have to run around telling people you're doing these things. But after quite a period, I had some profound changes happen to me, my personality and my friendships, my relationships, and people started asking me what was going on. And one, I'd share with people, and we brought it into our company, which is LC Real Estate Group, started a seed group. And before I knew it, the room was full of people wanting to try a little mindfulness. And we've changed our vision statement to mindfully creating community. I'm primarily a real estate developer now. I build things, and I'm at the twilight of my career, and that's why I've launched Living in the Gap, which offers these mindfulness principles to others. And we run a mindful leadership program and other programs throughout the year to help promote mindfulness in business.
And you recently had a book published, Profit with Presence, The 12 Pillars of Mindful Leadership. Talk to us a little bit. We have a lot of real estate folks following the podcast here. Talk to them about how your mindfulness book and leadership can help them.
A lot of business people I talk to go, "Gosh, mindfulness. That sounds kind of squishy. Just a little too soft for business. When I get there someday, maybe I'll make a little time for that." And I find just the opposite to be true. I find that mindfulness is primarily the ability to focus. And I find woo-woo to be the current state of the world, distracted, divided, not able to, accomplish meaningful goals.
Yep.
So what the book is about is how you take that path on personally in a process. It always has to start with ourselves. We always want the others to change, the communities to change, the industry to change. But the only one we can really impact, or at least the first place it starts, is with ourselves. So the book starts on a path, and the 12 pillars is how our mindful leadership program is based, just on how to begin some mindfulness, how to establish purpose in your life, how to set vision, make clarity, commitment, and habits. From habits, the habits are who we become, or who we are really even, and how to have a mindset to really take on any of the challenges. I mean, we don't know when we walk out the door if it's going to be a tsunami or a plague or, going to win the lottery. How do we deal with it each day and turn those little things into positives? Because I can control my mindset. I can't really control the outside environment. And it's really a pathway to show you how you can be happy first and take that happiness and lead yourself to another level of success.
I think that a lot of people, hear yoga and mindfulness, and you said squishy. I love that term. What I would say is the first thing that pops into my mind would be, look, I'm a hard charging type A personality, business owner, real estate, a producer, leader, and I ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
how do you train people to say, you need to take time, and you need to block it in your schedule, and you need to give it X number of days, months, whatever, to get the effects, so that you would say, I could never do without taking my time?
Yeah, I don't think I'd say should or need to begin with. I mean, it's a personal choice. And how we do it, or I suggest, and I found most effective, is you start really small. You start with a couple of minutes. People jump in and they try 10 or 20 minutes or something, and they get up there and they go, oh my God, it's crazy up there. I can't meditate. I can't do this. And so I find that to be counterproductive, and that it's a process, so that if we start with a couple minutes, and the idea is to be as consistent as possible, hopefully daily, doesn't have to be every day, but hopefully regularly, very consistently. And over time, the mind starts calming down a little bit, and then we want a little bit more. So our mindful leadership program, we take about 6 months to get people up to 10 minutes of meditation. And there's other things like low-hanging fruit is start a gratitude practice. Gratitude is one of the most impactful things that you can do. It changes your mindset immediately, and it helps with that. We read, a lot of reading is kind of a lost art. We try to get people to read 10 pages a day, because I think it's focus too. It's hard to read when we can't focus. So it's also a focus practice. So we have different exercises we try to get going in our practices our programs over about 9 months, because it takes a while to get those habits established. But the beauty is that once you're in it, and not too terribly long, you become more focused and more efficient, and you have more time. We waste so much time. If you just follow your calendar, or just look at your smartphone, how these apps and everything just dragging our attention endlessly. So we kind of start paying attention to that and grab back some of that other time. We find really we have more time than we think. And a little bit of practice. We start with 10 minutes and 30 and work up to an hour. And then after a while, people decide where their niche is. A lot of people, it's that half-hour mark of doing something. We also look at mindful athletics. How do I be more mindful in the gym? Some people like yoga. Some people take it to weightlifting or running or Pilates, something else. But we can be more mindful in these activities. And it's really transformative just to be in our bodies a little bit more. We've become disassociated with them. Our mind and our bodies are really a functioning unit. They aren't really separate, except we separate them. So small processes over a long period of time make dramatic changes.
Yeah. A lot of times when we set goals for ourselves, if you set it too high, you don't believe it, so you get demotivated. But if you set it the right way and you have the right why behind it, then you feel drawn toward that goal. So what are some of the things that people will experience as a result of taking this time for mindfulness, so that they can feel like they're drawn toward it rather than, I got to do this again?
One of the things that we work on, and as an immediate benefit, is listening, becoming a better listening, which is the access to relationship. Mm-hmm. So our relationships improve. I mean, it's a business program, but it's, it isn't that. I mean, how you are in one thing is pretty much how you are in everything. So we have a lot of people come up and say, gosh, I just had a tremendous conversation with my wife last night, or gosh, I'm closer to my kids than I've ever been. Because all that most people want from us is our attention. They don't really care that we take them to Disney World or spend money on this gift or that gift. Most people just want our attention. And we're so distracted, we have trouble just sitting down and being with somebody. That's the biggest gift that you have. And the same as with business, an employee, giving somebody the time to just talk to them. And that also means clearing out our calendar a little bit and having a little bit of time, because we're so busy and so focused and so driven, we don't have the time to listen. And a lot of the opportunities are right in front of us. We slowed down a little bit, paid a little more attention to the people we're with. They're trying to tell us things often, and we're not listening. Those are the people we lose too, right? And then we got to try to replace them because we haven't really listened to them. So it's a gift of time for yourself and time for others, and focus is really the essential ingredient of it.
Neat. So you talk about the precession effect.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that.
Well, another thing that we counterintuitive, I spent 20 years at the university teaching at Colorado State University, and people say, gosh, how can you spend so much time and give them your money and do all that stuff? And I have found, and I spent a lot of time with nonprofits. I found, number one, it changes my mindset, and it's the right thing to do. But also, the world works at 90-degree angles. It isn't everything we take on head on. I've had some of the best relationships I've had in my life. I've met with service work, either teaching in a nonprofit. I've got students that I know that are all over the state, partners here in my firm that I've learned there. Nonprofit work, I've gone in and had people, actually, I'm in there working to promote a community cause. But I get to know other leaders on another level, and there's a level of trust that's formed. And when they have something they need, they call you. I mean, I've had, I can't tell you how many different opportunities have come at me. So I call that the precession effect. It comes from an architect named Buckminster Fuller, the 1930s, that coined it to begin with. And it's from ancient Greek mythology, but it's like the world moves at 90-degree angles. When the sun pulls the earth to it, but it doesn't crash into the sun. It goes around the sun. Honeybees go out and they work on collecting honey, but pollination is the precession effect, pollinating all the flowers in the world. So it's starting to notice it's not always, it's the side effects of things that are often the main event. And everything like a cold call often turns people off. Are the ways to make warm calls, to get to know people at another level and build relationships with them rather than always sell.
That's a good point. And kind of also makes me think of two economic downturns. We've seen the economic housing crash of 2007, 8, 9, 10. We've seen all kinds of, crises in our economy. And in real estate, we see the rates are up, the rates are down. It's a buyer's market. It's a seller's market. So can some of these concepts help real estate professionals survive and thrive through these downturns?
Well, I think marketing and finance are basics to get in. You have to have some of those fundamentals just to be in business and do business. But what really has gotten me through the biggest downturn is relationships. Because people don't call you back, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a downturn and people don't have good news for you, you just don't get calls back. But when you've made a relationship with people, they don't even call you back, but they extend themselves because they trust you. So in 2008, we developed a major shopping center in the north end of Fort Collins. It was all about relationships. How I got it was through a relationship and through a nonprofit introduction. And then, land was a 4-letter word. Let me tell you, try to take a piece of land into a bank and get it financed. We had an anchor tenant signed. We had everything. Relationships got it done.
Yeah.
All around it is who will call you back, who's going to trust you, who's going to take your call. And it doesn't mean someone's going to do something stupid for you, or that you'd ask them to. What it means is you can have a conversation. So those relationships you form, you don't form them for those reasons. You form them because there's general human connection. You form those. But those are what gets you through the downturns, when people will call you, tell you what they think, give you an honest opinion, give you a referral to somebody else when they can't help, and you get your phone calls answered. Building relationships is so underestimated, the value of it. It's really one of the most fundamental building pillars of business.
It really is. And I've heard Bob Berg, the author of The Go-Giver, I've interviewed him a couple times.
Wonderful.
And he's great. And he says, all things being equal, people want to do business with those that they know, like, and trust. And there's
I quote him in my book.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
He's awesome.
Yeah. He's amazing. And it just really does. I mean, it's like that's the key that unlocks so many things. And in our day and age of going crazy fast in 19 different directions, A, we're not taking time to be mindful, and B, we're not taking time to build those relationships. But it's those things, I've heard it said before, you can tell how vibrant your network is by if you had some crisis or catastrophe happen at 2 a.m., who would pick up your phone and take your call at 2 a.m.? Because that shows, that person, now obviously if your phone's down on the charger, they didn't see the call. But the point is, would someone come to your rescue at an odd hour? Oh yeah, I've got your back. That's the kind of relationships that we need to be building.
And at least that you can get your calls answered,
yep.
And when things go bad, people head for the hills. They just turn off. So
how do
you stay open? And in the same time, when you have those relationships, you're taking others' calls, right? You're not just you're reciprocating, or you're starting it with, just reaching out. How's it going? What's going on during the COVID? I can't tell you how many people I called, just business associates, just said, how's it going? What's you finding? I mean, you think you knew something?
Yeah.
COVID hit, everything was empty. We didn't know anything. So I spent a lot of time calling people I had relationships with, not asking for me, but also just saying, what are you seeing? What's going on? Anything I can help you with? And
That's
there
huge.
Often wasn't much, but the phone call meant a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, I'll tell you, Eric, it's been great talking with you. In many of our listeners are leaders in real estate or mortgage companies. So the book, Profit with Presence, the 12 Pillars of Mindful Leadership, should be a really great help for them. So how can anyone listening to this find out more about yourself, your programs, and your book?
Well, our website, livinginthegap.org, has everything. There's a monthly newsletter that's free of charge. There's free resources on there, other books, how to get started with mindfulness. It's a 21-day free mindfulness program, 10 minutes a day, sent to your mailbox. Things about the book are there, things about our program. Right now, we're enrolling in our mindful leadership program for 2023-24, starts in August. And also Amazon or Barnes & Noble, Profit with Presence, the 12 Pillars of Mindful Leadership. Actually, it achieved for the end of March, so I think it was March 10th that week, we achieved one of the top sellers of the Wall Street Journal with the book.
Wow.
So it's got a great launch, and I really hope it helps to change the business conversation. Be a little more mindful, and that business people start realizing how much power they really have. We're a powerful force.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, Eric. It's been a real pleasure talking with you today.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to the Colorado Real Estate Leaders Podcast, brought to you by Trailstone Insurance Group. To learn more about the topics mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.coloradorealestateleaders.com.